Hello everyone and welcome to the Planning Game Podcast, your weekly podcast for real world planning solutions to real world planning problems. My name's John McDermott from Town Planning Expert. Let's get right into it. Okay guys, welcome to the Planning Game, and I'm joined with Craig Roberts and Kevin Moulton of Dwellings for You. Gents, welcome to the Planning Game.
Well, thank you, John.
Right, so you boys have been rather busy, shall we say, over the last year or two. It's been a bit of a roller coaster journey for you two, hasn't it really? So Kevin, you're a plumber by trade.
Yes, I am, mate, yeah.
And you run, what's your plumbing company? It's
Funny
always a good plug.
Very nice spell it is. That's Kevin Moulton, Heating, Plumbing and Bathrooms. Bit of a long one. Oh, well, limited.
Just maybe shorten that one down at some point in time. And Craig, you're
I was a bricklayer last year, self-employed.
Yeah.
And now into property full-time.
Yeah. And your history is quite interesting because I'm looking at Craig, and Craig has emblazoned upon his shoulder a parachute regiment tattoo. You were a para, weren't you?
Yeah, spent 5 years in the parachute regiment. Left school, got my bricklaying apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Joined the paras during the recession for 5 years, and then started a family and thought that isn't the best life for a family. I mean, some people do it, but so preferred to get into property instead.
Yeah, I don't blame you. One of my relatives is in the army. And he's coming up to his 20th year and deciding whether or not to stay in or come out, and he's at that point in his career. Okay, so property development guys, you two have been relatively busy. Tell us about St James.
St James Street was our first sort of big project.
Yeah, the big one. Just we'd done a quick flip before that, didn't we?
Yeah, just to get things started. We'd done a little refurb flip. Just to get me out of the day job really, and then St James Street we bought a funeral parlour.
As you would.
Yes.
As you would, may as well.
Yeah. Already had planning permission for 6 houses, and we built that out as Lloyd and Andy's build to rent model. So they've been mentoring us through it really.
Cool, and that's all complete now, isn't it? You're all done on site there and in the process of renting those out. Yeah. So you're churning through the rentals. I understand you've got someone signed up whilst out here in Indonesia.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, we have, yeah. We've got Sarah back home who's been going through stuff for us. She's actually had a few more interests as well, who's taken away the paperwork with them. So, it's looking all positive that we should hopefully be looking to fill them all.
And then we'll start the refinancing when we get back.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, that's a really great, essentially, end to your Bali experience, because I know you boys fly out today, which is really sad. I know you're both coming up with solutions as to how to prolong your stay in Southeast Asia, but we all have to go home at some point in time, and what a good thing to go home to is another tick in the box. What are you going to do with the rest of the units that you've got?
Well, we was looking at maybe assisted living. I mean, while we've been out here, we've been going through the business plan, and that's something that really excites us. Sort of, the vulnerable people. Just sort of, it's just a different sort of niche, if you like. Yeah. So we're gonna, nothing might not come of it, but that's something that we would like to pursue. So. We'll be looking into that when we get back. Yeah,
I mean, assisted living's really quite interesting. From a planning point of view, there are 2 places it can live. Well, actually, there are 3. So, if it's assisted living run by a charity or organisation that gives care, and there are 2 splits to this, because since we've been talking, I've since done some more looking, as I always do.
Indeed, John.
So, if you are doing assisted living that's where a provision of care is given, right? then that will fall neatly within class C3B. That is the care home, small care home class. Yeah, no planning permission needed to change your existing houses into a C3B house. That's just not a material change of use. C3A to C3B, no planning permission required there. If it's charity that's running it for you, then that actually falls neatly in class C3C. There doesn't have to be any provision of care. It's a community operated by a charity. Right? That is the community charity group, church group dwelling class. Maximum number 6 people, but you don't have to put the pull cords in. If it's been operated wholly by a charity and they're not giving care, and it's essentially for recuperative purposes, so you might have people who are coming off drug or alcohol rehabilitation, they might have just come out of the army, they might have just come out of prison. You might have that kind of person who's needing that rehabilitative care. That's how the charities do it. They have this class C3C, which they fall neatly into. If it's not being run by a charity, or you're not providing care, then you do still have class C4 available to you, up to 6 unrelated persons living together and sharing a basic amenity. And I just finished writing the up-to-date guide, TPX guide on houses and multiple occupation. I'll email you a copy.
Brilliant.
But I can confirm Kings Lynn and West Norfolk is not one of the authorities that has an Article 4. They don't have an HMO problem. So HMO is your next logical step. Yeah? So you could rent rooms individually and hold them in that regard as well. So, and that's if it's more than 3 persons living there. If it's 2 persons living there, then you're still in that C3A class. So you're still in the base C3 class that you've got planning permission for already. We don't have to do anything, we don't have to change use. You probably won't even have to tell your mortgage company because you've already got them on the right product, and you'll get them on the right product from refinancing because they'll then be on a purchase to rent product or a buy to rent product. Yeah. So in reality, the accessible living, the assisted living model is actually one that excites, because, and should rightly so, because you can then tap into a marketplace where there is always a massive need and demand.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's what sort of appeal. Well, there's 2 things that appeal to us. Obviously, that demand, and also actually helping people. I mean, obviously, you've heard already with Craig's history of the parachute regiment, where he was a member of, and the people, people do come out of the army and they've got nowhere to go. And then obviously through people as well coming out of prison or coming off addictions, and again they've got nowhere to go. So that's something that does sort of tick a lot of boxes for the pair of us, just to sort of give something back.
I mean, the only thing you have to bear in mind with those groups is the duty of care component. Yeah. So this in part comes under the Fit for Human Habitation Act, but also under sort of an ethical and moral duty of care, where you have to make sure that the people who get placed in your accommodation are safe. Now, if you're going through a charity, going through a council, that's not so much of a worry for you. They're being monitored and managed by those organisations. Yeah? If you're placing them yourself, so you're recruiting those tenants for that model yourself, then that duty falls to you. So you do have to make a wise choice as to which way you're going to go there. But equally so, absolutely giving back to the community. There are some very big charities dealing with all 3 of those sectors that we've discussed. In my own area, there's a Royal Naval charity, there's an Air Force charity, RAF charity, and an Army charity. Because all 3, and you wouldn't believe flyboys come out with nothing. Sometimes flyboys do come out with absolutely nothing, even though, as Craig will attest, they get paid awfully well for sitting in a rather comfy seat. I think that's how the Army describes them, isn't it?
Yes.
That's awfully well.
Polite way of putting it.
And of course the senior service, and I am going to use that term, which is going to make Craig grate his teeth, as the Navy refers to themselves. Equally so, they get paid very well, but when they come out, it is a cliff edge. as I'm sure you found with the Paris. It's thank you for your service, out the door you go, and all of the facilities that you've had given to you as part of your contract with the country disappear.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
In a pretty much a drop off. So these guys have to rebuild. Guys and girls have to rebuild their lives. Fantastic. So that will really add, I think, and as part of your strategy that was built in Bali, that will really add to your ability to get these properties cash flowed.
Yeah.
And weirdly falls neatly in with the hair strategy we discussed whilst we were in Malta.
Yeah.
Because HMOs, that fast turnaround of rental property is very much aligned with that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. Yeah, definitely, John, yeah. 100%.
So, where are you guys from here? We're going to get these properties at St James built. I know you're doing some amazing work with Brett Plant on affordable housing. Where's your next big project?
Well, we've got some land in Kings Lynn that we're now going into for planning for.
Cool.
And then we're going to try and get 100% affordable housing on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just in the early stages, really.
Yeah.
Apart from that, we're now going to be trying to contact these charities for the assisted living.
Yeah.
See what their demand is, see what they're interested in, and
put our business plan together from what we've been
it's just working it backwards, finding out what they need, and then trying to find something to suit what they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, what we have got in our area, we've got a couple of massive buildings that have sat there for a very long time, but that doesn't stack up. You can't make it stack. So we're hoping perhaps if we can have something put in place beforehand and saying, look, this is what we can deliver for you, and hopefully we can make that stack and make these beautiful buildings in the middle of Kings Lynn, habitable, living in, because they're just a waste and they're just sitting there because you just can't make it work. No matter how you try and make it stack, they do not stack.
And we often find that with nice big chunky buildings, that they're being held by a pension fund or they're being held privately, and you just cannot get the numbers to gear over. So either the property value is too high or their aspirations of property value are too high, or moreover they bought at the height of the market for that type of property and they're stuck with a honking great commercial mortgage that they have to pay down. That, or the end values, the starting values are too damn low.
That seems to be the problem with where these are sitting. They're low end values, and plus their expectations for the building are too high, so it just doesn't work. But maybe we can do something for housing associations and provide for them, because I know they've got a great demand.
Are these properties that you've seen pre-planning? So have they got any consents on them, or are they post-planning? Or are you kind of fighting with the planning consent as well?
There's one where the planning consent has lapsed.
Right. Okay. So some of that value is eroded away, which is good.
Yeah, and there's one where it was previously in office, so that would be prior approval.
Yeah, very good. Very nice too. I mean, prior approval is a nice lead-in really, because Class O prior approval. And for those of you interested in Class O, we've put an amazing quick checker on the TPX website for you to fill in. Just tick some boxes, answer some very simple questions, so you get a result out telling you whether it's Class O capable or not. But those Class O developments have the ongoing ability to do certain things, so they can shift themselves neatly into sui generis, into Class C4 HMOs, because it's one of the few prior approval classes where that right was not removed.
Right, yeah.
You can, if you do rental houses, they can be extended because their permitted development rights are still alive. Again, one of the few that has that. So,
I mean, I think the way we'd look at it as well, John, we'd obviously have the conversations back home about what sort of they look for the assisted living and start looking at the figures, and then the next phone call would be to yourself.
yeah. Well, I'm not going to be so modest as saying I would hope so. I would just say many other consultants are available, but I look forward to that call.
No, that will be coming to you, John. You know that.
But at the end of the day, it's something we've done before. The last big sort of pseudo assisted living block that we did was in Woking for Thames Way Housing Association, where we turned an office block into 158 units, and that one's underway. That's going to be a big black monolith next to the railway station.
Right. Okay.
But that's one of ours, and it's we were happy to do it because it's a good end user and a good end result for everyone, really. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think this assisted living thing is really quite big. It's really quite important because you end up with guaranteed rents coming from the sectors of the housing system that desperately need it, and you have on-site management, which actually is vital because that then massively reduces your management burden, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, in my plumbing side, we've actually done some of these projects. We've done 2 big houses in the middle of London for a local main contractor who's based in Kings Lynn, and luckily the QS he's done some work for our company as well. So that's straight away going to be the conversation I'm going to have as soon as I get back. Yeah, is Richard, give me the contacts, please, or can you contact them, or have a chat with Richard and see whether, because he does do a bit of freelancing. Perfect. But like you say, they have a living in manager. Yeah. And I think we did one which we turned into a 12-room, like big 3-story house in London, 12-room assisted living. Yeah. And another one was about the same size, to be honest with you. One near Charlton, and the other one, well, they both within 2 miles of each other.
Well, by pure happenstance, I've got an application in Wales right now for one, and that's going to be a 19-bed. They call them HMOs over in Wales, but a 19-bed HMO with an on-site 2-bedroom manager's flat inside of it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So it's very to say that they are worthwhile, and that is in one of that's in Blaenau Gwent, in one of the poorest areas of Wales, and that's the way to make that building work. Yeah. It stacks if they do it that way.
So would that fall in sui generis HMO?
Yeah, no, that gets in Wales they call it a unique use. They don't use sui generis. They call it a unique use. And that's where it will sit. It's very much in that unique category. But in the UK, we would call it sui generis quite happily because of the number of people. We've exceeded the 6, so we've gone to that number of people in the building that automatically requires it to go into another class.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
We've done vision statements this week with you guys, which has been fantastic, and if you haven't done a vision statement at home, I don't know why you haven't, because if you don't know where you're going, you don't know where you are, then you have no idea how to get there. So tell us about the big dream project. So we'll start with Craig. So if Craig could do any project he wanted in 5 years' time, what would it be? Now I've put him on the spot because he's pulling a face and you can't see this whilst you're driving up the M4.
There was no dream project in my vision statement. It was to supply houses for housing association and for assisted living. That's really aligned with what I want to do. Cool. But there was no particular project. But the vision statement was sort of very powerful. We had a whole day just to sit to one side, really think about what we wanted, our perfect life. And when you start sort of digging, you start getting, a vision, and then there's certain sort of low-hanging fruit what I can sort of act on now to head in that direction. And without that statement, the vision statement, you're just sort of floating about with nowhere to go.
I always describe it using the key principles of navigation: where you are, where you've been, and where you're going to. Draw a line between the 3, and then you have a trajectory, and once you have a trajectory you'll be on a pathway to success. So, affordable housing estate, how many units? 5 years time, what do you want to be building?
5 years time, I want to be providing sort of 500 units a year.
Nice. And you could reasonably do that on one plot of land?
Yeah.
A decent sized plot of land, if you do everything right, go through the local plans process, use your affordable housing contacts that you'll be fostering over the next 5 years. By the time you're at year 5, you'll have a Roberts Drive and a Moulton alley to play with on an estate. You'll be naming roads after your kids. Go on then, Kev. We've heard from Craig. 5 years' time.
Well,
is it the tower block with your face on it?
I wouldn't be that cruel to the tower block. To be fair,
I know Fahad, who we heard from this during the Bali sessions, as I'm calling them. Fahad is very much face on side of building. But anyway, so 5 years' time, your dream development. Where do you see you guys going?
Well, luckily, from the very start, that mine and Craig's visions and work together have always been very aligned.
Yeah.
And I'm up there with that. I want to be providing at least 500 homes a year.
Yeah.
Quality stuff as well for them. The assisted living as well. And since we've come out with that over here, the more and more I think about it, the more it grows on me.
Yeah.
It really does. Because again, going back to what I was saying earlier, it really hits home. I just think there's people out there that need homes.
Well, we know there is. We know the UK needs 3 million of the damn things.
Yeah.
Pretty much now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, going on about the vision statement. I mean, I took a few more days to do mine, and really delved very deeply. And yeah, it's life changing, really. And I know it may sound dramatic to people who are listening to this and think, oh, how does that work? Writing down a vision in 5 years, but it's what getting to that vision and where you've got to go to within your inner self to write. It is life changing, definitely. And like you said, John, gives you something to aim at.
Absolutely.
Instead
Simple, course, and speed, and that's all it is. But it is dramatic. I guess it wouldn't necessarily, in your vision, it wouldn't necessarily be Moulton's dodgy back alley. I'm thinking more of a Moulton Boulevard.
Indeed, John. I like that.
With a Roberts cul-de-sac off somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah, somewhere.
Maybe at the back. Who knows? You could design roads that look like a parachute. A couple of crescents.
That's it.
Your house sitting right at the bottom. That will do it. This has been inspiring. I've really enjoyed chatting to you guys. I've really enjoyed spending time with you as we have done in the course of Bali. If people are, because I know Andy and Lloyd run 2 of these per year. They run Bali and Croatia. I do 2 of these per year, Goa and Malta. If people are on the fence about why they should be here next year, why they should, what, in some simple words, what would you say to people who are thinking to themselves, should I?
Okay, I mean, you're taken away from your day-to-day sort of work, and then you can look at everything with a bird's eye view and see what's going wrong, what's working, and not only have you're looking at it yourself, you've got everyone around the table looking at your business, and then you get your plan together, and you've got some. And I don't think that can be done back in the UK, because you I don't know, you're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
You need to come away and really have a look at it, with no distractions.
Yeah. What about you, Kev? I know this one has been more life-changing than people appreciate.
Yeah, people like that won't.
And we won't go there, but...
No.
So if people are thinking, is this right for me?
Basically, the community within the retreat, obviously the new friendships you make. I mean, I've still got friends from Bali from last year who actually return us this year. It's something I can't really explain apart from... It's very special. It is very special. I've never suffered fools gladly in my life, and there's been people around this table that, to be honest with it, being a bit pig-headed at times, or perhaps they would never be somebody that I spoke to in such depth here, and taken away such a close friendship. It's very, very important. I think that also you've got the accountability afterwards. I mean, we've already spoke this group here about meeting up in 3 months away from our comfort zone, everyone, and having a day together and having a really good, right, how's your business plan going? What could you do better? What couldn't you do better? And That is massive in business. It really is. Put it this way, I wish I had a retreat for my plumbing business 8 years ago, because I wouldn't have made half the mistakes I've made trying, and and I'm still making, because that just isn't the.
But I guess the important thing, the couple important takeaways there is business development planning. It's all very isolating. You're in a silo, and you think it's just you and no one else. And you come to a place like this, and you actually realise there are people going through the same problems, the same issues. It's not just me. Okay, so what have I learned that can help them? What have they learned that can help me? And that's the other important takeaway.
Absolutely.
And the quote I used around the table today is, Edison didn't fail. He just worked out 3,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. Yeah? None of the guys around the table have ever failed. They've just worked out how not to do things along the way and learned from that. And the important thing is, around that table, is they've passed on that learning to everyone else, because everyone has shared openly, and you don't get that anywhere else.
I think one of the people who is away with us, Mark, I'm sure he wouldn't mind me mentioning his first name because you wouldn't know him anyway, but he just turned around at one point when we was in a session of somebody's, and he just turned around and he went, wow. He said, just look at what we've got sat around this table. The incredible different knowledge from different sectors and different things, and they're all coming together to help each other. That in itself is just massively powerful, because like Craig said,
You won't get that anywhere else.
you wouldn't.
No.
You just wouldn't.
No, you
Not at all.
wouldn't. So, thank you so much for joining me on the planning game, guys. Do you want to give a quick plug to Dwellings for You whilst you're here? If people have got development sites they want you to come and have a look at in Kings Lynn and West Norfolk and the surrounding areas, where do they come and see you guys? Where are they going to see you guys next?
Well, you can find us on Facebook, Dwellings for You. That's the number 4, the letter U, or our website, www.dwellingsforyou.co.uk. Connect with us, and we're happy to look at anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And anything out there that's that you think would be of interest, please don't be shy, and we'll always be honest. If we're not interested, we'd say straight away, and if we can give any advice and help with you, then we'd gladly do that, because again, going back to it, it's just about building up relationships, working relationships, and please get in touch.
Thank
Definitely.
you, guys. That was brilliant.
Ching ching.
Thank you, guys, for listening to the
thank you,
planning
John.
game. We'll catch you on the next of the Barley sessions, and see you all very soon.
Cheers, John.
Cheers, John. See ya.